All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shine. Let's get into this video.
Because we are the sons of Yahweh. Because we are the sons of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, man. We're the sons of the Lord, man. Not you Edomites, man. Alright? And look, brothers, you really need to exercise using the word Edomite. Alright? Refer to them as so-called white people, because they're not white. Okay? Try to refrain from calling them crackers and all that stuff like that. That's really not edifying. It really isn't. You know, what you want to do is you convict them with the truth, man. Besides, calling them any other thing outside of the so-called white man, all right, is when you use white, you should say so-called and refer to them as Edomite, real talk. Because it's that verbiage when you call them something else, when you're screaming out cracker and all this other, because you know brothers get angry, you be in the spirit. But that's how they're able to say, well, it's hate and it's hate and it's all this, and and then it takes away from the message. Real talk. It takes away from the message, man. Convict them with the words of this Bible and convict them with truth, Akil. Alright? We need to really practice referring to them as Edomites and referring to them as the so-called white man. You know, you can throw a devil in there and, you know, a piece of shit every now and then, because that's truth. Alright? Because it's true. But we must speak the absolute truth. Alright? That's how we convict them. Because it's so easy for them to use sound bites of other verbiage being used, and then it takes away from the whole message, man. Let's take away their excuses and their abilities to fight, man. Alright?
And to be honest, the elder is actually right. Calling them cracker not only doesn't really have any power, but it's also not edifying in any way at all. Right? Calling them an Edomite, what they really are, is very edifying, because you'll hear these Edomites calling Jake the N-word. They'll say, these Edomites will say, call them what they are, right? So they'll freely call Jake the N-word. And they'll call Jake, I've heard some things where they'll call an Israelite of the Southern Kingdom a black, a slave, right? Basically, they'll do their best to demean us, right? And the thing is, these terms like cracker doesn't demean an Edomite. More so, it actually gives power to an Edomite. Because all you're saying is, you're basically just saying that Edomite back then was able to whip you. Right? That's where the term cracker comes from. Because when they would whip you, the sound would make like a crack on the back of a slave. So calling them cracker doesn't have any power, but calling them an Edomite, that has a lot of power and conviction behind it. Because not only are you telling these Edomites what they are, you're also letting them know that they have a certain end where they will have the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai upon them, and they will go into captivity for 1,000 years and serve us and be exterminated. Right? So when you call these Edomites what they are, not only are you reminding them of their impending doom, but you're also telling them that they are worthless in the eyes of the Lord, because the Esau is the only nation that will be exterminated. Esau is a nation Yahweh hates. Right? There is nothing worse than being called an Edomite. There is no curse word, no derogatory term that is worse than the term Edomite. An Edomite is probably the worst word ever right now. Right? And to be an Edomite is the worst thing you can even think of. Because not only is an Edomite worthless in the eyes of the Lord, but to know that that person not only is he Edomite, but also has impending doom, or is also going to serve in hardcore slavery, and will also be the lowest of all nations. This is why it is important to call these so-called white people Edomites instead of white or cracker, because no one's white. When you're calling these Edomites white, you're reinforcing white supremacy, right? And we should not do that. When you call them white, you're taking them away from what they really are, which is an Edomite. And when you call them white, you feed into their superiority complex. So calling them Edomite, remind them who they are, and then just calling them Edomite is bringing them down low. Right? Letting them know that Esau's seed is rotten lets them know that they aren't the chosen one. Right? It says right here in Psalms chapter 85, verse 11, truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. Right, and we have this truth. We have the truth of who the nations are. We have the truth of who Esau Edom is. We have the truth on who's ruling the world right now. We have the truth on who the real people of the real Israelites of the Bible are. Right? Let's get this out. I'll be made stubble. Okay, let's get this out too. It says Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Right? We know that this refers to the people over there in that land called Israel. It says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped. So, that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, right? Because Esau, he likes to exalt himself, right? Esau will call himself God. Esau will call himself Esau will say he is basically Esau will praise himself above God. Esau will say, he could do this better than Yahweh. Esau will say he could make creation better than Yahweh. Esau will claim he could do anything better than Yahweh. But you know what Esau won't claim? Esau will refuse to call himself an Edomite. Right? Because calling yourself an Edomite or being an Edomite is the ultimate embarrassment. So that's why when you call these Edomites or these so-called white people Edomites, you're basically shooting an arrow at them when they exalt themselves and bringing them down. Now, Obadiah chapter 18 says, in the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, in the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. Exactly. And this is the impending doom that Esau will have. Not only will he serve slavery for 1,000 years, but also Esau will be made no more. And Esau is the only nation that will be completely wiped away. As it says, for the Lord hath spoken it. So Yahweh has made a decree that Esau will not be around much for long. Esau will not be around for long in the kingdom. So when you call these so-called white people Edomites, you're reminding them of their doom, which is in Obadiah chapter 18. So if this lesson was edifying, all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.